What's up, Soul Warriors, and welcome to this Recovery Soul Food Saturday night soul session live with me, LC, and we've got an amazing guest scheduled for tonight. I'm super grateful that this young man is here in our house tonight to share his amazing story of surviving childhood cancer and now thriving in part to his passion for gratitude and giving back. And I want to tell you, I'm inspired by his story. He is the author of the book, An Arsenal of Gratitude, Waging War Against Mediocrity and Regrets. And he and I had this amazing conversation not too long ago about the grit of gratitude. Gratitude, as we hear it now in our society and our culture, has the tendency to seem light, to seem airy, to seem easy, to seem like it's just something, a cliche that people say. And I want to tell you to live in true gratitude and to have gratitude truly change your life in every possible way imaginable. You got to have true grit. It's not easy to live a life in gratitude, but if you want gratitude to truly change you to your core and you want to truly find out who you are in this world, who you are destined to be, and who you have been created to be, then the grit of gratitude is what it takes. So Remy Stoic and I tonight are going to talk about the grit of gratitude. Now, I want to let you know that Recovery Soul Food is brought to you in partnership with Breakthrough Hypnotherapy, who has an amazing free gift for the Recovery Soul Food community. And if you stick around to the end of this video, I will let you know exactly how to partake in that gift and take our friend Pamela Topjian up on that. We are also in partnership with the Sober app. So have you downloaded your Sober app yet? If not, why not? Everything is right there in the Sober app to help you live the most amazing, soul-filled, happy, healthy, recovering, amazing life. And it is affordable for you. And I want you to go to your Apple App Store, your Google Play Store, download your Sober app today. You will be surrounded with support. You will have your sober and recovery tracking there. You will have fitness, recipes. I mean, there's just nothing that you can't find in the Sober app. So download your Sober app today. Also, while you are doing your shopping this week on Amazon, don't you dare forget to pick up this amazing book for Miss Pamela Topjian entitled, I Didn't Come This Far to Only Come This Far. This is a story of surviving, a comeback. This will absolutely nourish your soul. Whether you are in substance use recovery, whether you are just reaching for more mental wellness and health, this is the book. So make sure you go to Amazon, type in Pamela Topjian, and pick up her book, all of her amazing art journals. I mean, you can start your gratitude. You can get an arsenal of gratitude right here tonight and start your gratitude journey. Now, I also want to let you know that there is a direct link to Remy Stoic's book, An Arsenal of Gratitude, Waging War Against Mediocrity and Regrets, right there in the description of this live video. So click on it and go get his book as well. I want to tell you what, I'm super ready to get into this Saturday night soul session live with me, LC, and Mr. Remys Story. And I am knowing that he's ready to get into it too. This is the grit of gratitude, and we are super, super ready. So let's go. What's up, Remy? Thank you for being here tonight. This is an amazing thing to have you right here live with us. How you doing?
LC, you know how to make an incredible introduction. Let me tell you, you're a natural. Thank you so much for having me and
Man,
for
I appreciate that.
reaching out barely just over a week ago and
Yep.
that spontaneous conversation we had that made this such an effortless, exciting space to be, man. Thank you so much for having me.
Man, I am grateful that you're here. As everyone knows, this has been the most divine season of the Recovery Soul Food Podcast since day one. I made it that way. I intended it to be that way. So every guest that has sat in this seat right next to me has been divinely inspired. And before we get started, man, I want to say some hellos. We got some beautiful people in the house. Miss Kim Bellis, Sober is the New Cool. If everybody wants to get their Sober is the New Cool swag, then they can right there go to soberisthenewcool.ca. We've got the amazing author Pamela Topjian in the house, who is amazing, a friend of mine. She's saying, "Hey Remy," she's excited to get in with you. And whoever else is here that I cannot see, remember StreamYard only shows me so many. So I want to say hello to everybody and everybody that'll watch this on the replay. Now, Remy, let's get into you, man.
Let's
Let's
go.
get into you. You are the gratitude guy. You know I love gratitude. It's my jam. But tell our audience, first, who are you as a human being and how did you get to a place where gratitude, you had to grasp and get the grit to be in full gratitude to change your life? So tell us.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's always the hardest question because it
Always.
did start when I was 4 years old. So this question for me is large as life.
Sure.
When I was diagnosed with leukemia at the age of 4, 3 heart procedures, 3.5 years of chemotherapy. Um, but then, as the fruition that came of that was that I got to go to this place called Kids Cancer Care Foundation of Alberta and got to go to this camp where kids age 7 to 17, survivor siblings, special needs get to go and celebrate this overcoming for about a week at a time.
Wow.
And my best friends were double brain tumor survivors,
Mm.
amputees, and we got to have this space where instead of being different, we got to celebrate these war wounds. And this
Yeah.
place was based entirely out of the volunteership, and people weren't there to be paid. It was there because they wanted to. And so from such a young age, I got to see genuine servanthood leadership at its core, and
Mm.
what that does for people, and what a safe space that makes for people to break the bubble that they've been given, especially young survivors, saying like, don't scrape your knees because you've just had all these special ramifications for your life for so long, and then you get reminded, oh, I do get to be a kid again. And it's like, if I can break this barrier, how many more barriers can I break? And how can
Mm.
I help my friends
Yes.
do that too? And then that can become the normalcy from a young age. Then adults are much more difficult to hardwire.
Right.
So
Right.
to be in a position of receptivity when I was young changed the whole game for sure. But then moving forward, I never thought I would leave that place. I became a full-time counselor when I was 17, 18 years old, and never thought I would leave until my brothers offered for us to be the first big game horseback guiding crew in the Northwest Territories for the
Wow.
first time in about 4 decades, living 4 months off grid. And it broke
Mm.
my heart to leave, but it's like, how do you say no to an adventure that crazy, right?
Right.
And
Right.
so that and solitude gave me a lot of time to appreciate what I had back home. And it broke my heart to be away from being where I was good at, to give servant leadership and just get my butt handed to me by horses. Like, what is this suffering for? Like, I'm on this
Yeah.
amazing journey, but it's not sharing with people to an immense degree where I get to see overcoming, right? And so I knew
Yeah.
that was very deeply embedded in my core, that that's what I wanted to do. And to fast forward, the things that I experienced out there was being surrounded by wolves in the middle of night and thinking my brother was dead for 7 days, brought
Wow.
upon this bizarre feeling that's like, what, if I did die out here, how could I solidify a legacy that I can continue giving back for the
Mm.
rest of my life? And I had a Game of Thrones book that I carried 500 kilometers by horseback just to have something to relax to. And I'm like, oh, I'm going to write a fantasy book and give 10% to kids' cancer care. And that was
Wow.
the audacious becoming of an authorship. Fast forward again, when that kicked me in the butt and I realized, oh, now I'm in the entertainment industry. I've actually haven't aligned my life to what I really want to do. And then it became the arsenal of gratitude. And I had to overcome all these different senses of inadequacy of who am I to speak on hope? I'm
Mm,
just a man. And who am I to speak of continuity when I'm not somebody of consistency? And so I had to face myself in all these ways before I actually could become somebody of gratitude, where I knew
yeah.
these truths, but I had to face myself in so many ways before I could actually publish this and become like a walking example of something that I know
Yes.
to be true. And so that's what brought upon this whole journey.
Mm. That's amazing, though. You've said a couple of things that, I've made little notes about, just number one, when we talk about, the kids' camp, just the importance of kids, because I think that that was part of what really built you in certain ways, that was so important for you at that young age to be in a place surrounded by people that where you weren't, your difference in a way was celebrated, that your difference wasn't, looked upon, or even people probably were afraid of what they were looking at, and that comes across as well. And so getting to have this experience where you're in this place for however long, in the summer, to be where your uniqueness is your superpower and around other people. It reminds me so much of the recovery process, and how, when we are in support groups and when we have that support, that, it just gives you this safe space to open up. And I think that's incredibly important. And then you just said something that really hit my bells when you said the truths. You used the word truths, where I had to learn and live these truths. And a lot of times I intermingle the words truths and like spiritual laws, because I truly believe that, gratitude is a spiritual law in the ways that it truly can change your life when
Yeah.
you practice it and live it as a truth. And so that's an amazing, just the story in that compacted version is super amazing. And, I'm grateful that you discovered your purpose, your passion, and that you are continuing to walk that out. And it's amazing how gratitude has done that. So thank you for, you know surviving something that, we know that a lot of children and human beings don't, and then coming out and being a voice
Mm.
for others and giving that back. That's amazing. Now, you and I were talking about, and this is where we're going to even get more into your story, I believe. We were talking about the the grit that it takes to live within the truths and the law of gratitude. I'd love for you to, because, right now it's such a cliche, make your gratitude list and do all that. And there's a tendency, we were discussing, there's this tendency to think that it's just something you say.
Yeah.
And it's gotten to the point where it's used so much. The pendulum always swings, super far until it comes to rest where it should. And so now you've got people that as soon as you mention gratitude, they shut down. They're like, I don't want to hear that shit, like, don't, that's just, and especially for, a masculine community too. Like, you're representing a lot here, just in you being this gratitude guy, because a lot of our masculine community says gratitude, that's not masculine.
Yeah.
So I want you to tell us, because you were in a very masculine situations when you were developing your arsenal of gratitude. So
Yeah.
talk to us about some of the grit that you had to develop to stay in gratitude, to allow that gratitude to expand you?
So that's such an amazing place to start because we can get to the good stuff so fast. But when we initially connected, you helped me narrow this down so quickly when you said the only thing when you started your gratitude journal writing that you could only put one thing down, and that was family. And
That was
that
it.
instilled in the word gratitude, when you say that, means I will also fight for this.
Yeah.
So you can't say
Mm,
I'm grateful for something unless I'm willing to make a certain measure of sacrifice to see the
yes.
well-being of this thing happen. And
Yes.
so there's that quote. It's like, if you like something, if you like a flower, you will pluck it, but if you love the flower, you will water it where it's at. And the same
Yeah.
thing goes for people, right? And so if you
Mhm.
like somebody, you will try to bring them along, but if you love them, you will water them where they're at. And
Amen.
so
Mm.
to come along with all the different dimensions of gratitude that I've had to have, and the strange blessing of multiple life and death scenarios, either with the cancer community or big game guiding, you understand the finiteness of how much you actually get to experience. And
Yeah.
so the gratitude, it's like, okay, I get to make sacrifices, but I can only make so many. And that means I can only appreciate so many things at a time. And some of the sacrifices have to be something I do appreciate, but it has to fall under different parts of the hierarchy. So if I say family, then I'm going to have to sacrifice my video games, or, the other things that bring me joy, if it actually means like, this is what it takes to sustain these things, or even my
Yes.
self-respect for that matter. Sometimes we put substances and such, like me just feeling like I can escape from sorrow is more important than us respecting ourselves
Mm.
into, the way we find our sobriety. um but yeah, just the grittiness of when you come to the consistency of trying to say you're grateful for, and then find yourself actually failing to make that sacrifice.
Mm. Mm.
And
Yes.
you say like, okay, am I really grateful? Is this something I have to put on the back burner to make space for the unknown? Because something's better than, this thing that I'm clearly not actually showing up for. And that's a terrifying thing to look at too.
Oh yeah.
Because, and if it's a person, you're either going to have to say that to their face and make movements out of love with them to say, hey, this is where I'm at, this is what I can do. Or you do it quietly and it becomes a space of fear. And that's how things started to, dismiss and fall apart
Yep.
quietly and
Yep.
grossly.
And
And so,
resentfully. Yes, resentfully.
yes,
Yeah. Mm.
absolutely. And so I like to think of everything of life into pendulums, as you're saying. We make all decisions out of love or fear. There's
Yep.
like no in between. And so it's like, this is for the greater good of something I'm willing to make a sacrifice for, or it's an experience I'm running from or compensating for. And as well, out of love and fear, the other pendulum is to escape or to amplify my life. And so
Yeah.
if I can constantly put these things on two pendulums, I can see my trajectory, everything with every single move I make. And that helps me
Absolutely.
balance to a degree.
Yeah, absolutely. And even just talking about that, there is so much, inner healing is tough. I mean, it takes grit to really move into a direction where you decide, because I think what we do a lot with substance is we use it as a coping mechanism to escape our pain. And I think that goes with all addictions. I mean, whether it's gaming, whether, no matter what it is, whether it's food, no matter what it is, we're trying to, mask pain, escape it. But when
Mm-hmm.
you start taking a journey of inner healing, it means you are walking head on into the pain, and you are sitting there until, it is worked through.
Yeah.
And that is the type of gratitude, and you're finding gratitude within that, because you can't sit there without the gratitude. So what you're saying about, that whole trajectory and seeing yourself, you have to have that vision, I believe, to step into a life of gratitude, and then allow that gratitude and that inner healing to start expanding then that vision. Because, as we know, thought comes first, and then out of repetition becomes belief, and then after belief starts to come action.
Yeah.
We don't take any action without thought first. And the the that grit, that toughness that it takes to see an issue, to feel an issue, like we're talking about right now with relationships. How many of us have been in those relationships where we're trying to find things to be grateful for in a very surface level, but
Yeah,
deep inside of us we already know that, hey, I'm not willing to fight, for this, or sacrifice. And I love what you said about that sacrifice, because you're correct. Whenever I started my recovery and healing journey, it was my bigger mission was that I didn't want to see my son deal with his pain the way I was dealing with mine. And, we've all said things when we were young and gone through very dysfunctional or hurtful things. We'll never be like that. I'll never do that. I'll never be like that. And then, you don't know what you don't know. And so when it gets to that point where you break, you will, roll in those directions. And I had to decide, if it's good enough for me, I've got to be able to look in his eyes and say it's good enough for him.
that's right.
And holding on to that and being grateful for that connection, man, that rolled me out of bed through days where I wanted to use so bad. I literally had to lay down on my stomach and hold my bedpost and
Mhm.
just count, just randomly count, because I had heard something that somebody said that a trigger only lasts like tops 3 minutes or something like that. I've later learned it's like 30 seconds, but a trigger to escape lasted, I thought, 3 minutes at that time. And I would lay there, hold on to the bedpost, and count
Yeah,
till 3 minutes was over. And I can't tell you how many times I had to just do that over and over and over again. That to me is that I'm fighting for this thing that is so important to me. Pamela says something, and she says pain is your teacher, and gratitude for it showing up, and the opportunity to see clearly and then heal. It is so so true.
yes,
Now, it's pretty tough, man, to go through some of the things that you went through as being a kid with such health problems, because how much discomfort did you go through those times, like, to be a young person who's unaware of gratitude and unaware of purpose. You are going through things that, are you ever asking yourself why? Or did you have a support system around you that held you up?
that's. I always love these questions. They're loaded, and so like my brain diverges in multiple places because with kids cancer care, that's why I'm extremely fortunate as well because having cancer initially and like trying to go to school in grade 3 being the only kid who had cancer, there's like, oh, here's a seclusion to some degree. And then
Yes.
kids are also not smart enough to say like, oh, maybe it's contagious and stuff like that. And so there's these
Right.
invisible
Right.
barriers that can just kind of shape life and how people see you without even really realizing initially. But people just draw conclusions, and adults are the same way
Sure.
to a huge degree.
Sure. Oh yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
but yeah, with kids cancer care and that support, I gave myself extra grief actually when it came to trying to write the gratitude book and realizing I had my own degree of sobriety and addiction to conquer. And then
Mm,
I'm like, okay, look how powerful this connection in this community was. And then that strange thing of like, oh, only I'm feeling this pain, only I can do that. And that self isolation
yeah.
that comes with that. And how I did that specifically to myself, but then how that isolation also allows you a safe space to continue being weak because it's like, oh, I'm not feeling anybody else because they don't know. And
Yep.
so maybe I can get away with it. When you're saying I have something so important like my son to fight for, I was lucky enough to also have kids cancer care to fight for because I've seen the fruition of being the happiest, goofiest person in the room. And because we were all broke 17, 18, 19, 20-year olds just giving back to that summer for the sake that we loved that place and what it was doing for people, money was not the hierarchy of the world out there. And so it's
Gosh, yeah.
genuinely the quality of your character that you bring to the table was somebody else's safe space to break the walls that have been put on their life.
Mm,
And so I'm like, if I can capture that in a gratitude book and actually thoroughly get over my own bullshit, maybe I can help other adults do this. And then I
yeah.
had to take that inventory and count the huge list of bullshit that I had accumulated in my life. You know,
Amazing.
it's gross. It's gross how big that is until
Yeah.
you look at it and you're like, wow, this is literally the only thing in my way because I can't. You'd be embarrassing if you said, "Oh, mom said not to. Dad doesn't believe in me. Brother said, probably not." You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's like, no, the things that actually weigh you down, it's like, I think I'm inadequate. Here's why you're not good enough. And at the end of every day, you're your own worst enemy. And so it's like, man, if I can just befriend this guy, it's game on, you know? And I
Yeah.
can teach other people to do that. And they feel like an absolute like juggernaut in this life.
Yeah.
But that battle is just so gnarly. And
It
it
is.
feels alone because everybody else is committed to that fluffiness outside of gratitude. If I don't talk about it, they won't know that I'm suffering,
That's right.
right? Or
That's
they
right.
don't know that I'm failing to hit that degree of or that caliber of actual fighting for the things that I love because we're all just going quietly, don't say
Yeah.
about it. Otherwise, we
That's
got to
right.
do something about it, right?
That's right. That's right. Smile in your selfie and post this up. And then
Yeah.
if everybody thinks I have this amazing life, then obviously I must. And, likely that it is not true. And so we need, books like yours. We need social media platforms like yours and so many of the human beings that have been on this show throughout its, birth tool, especially this season that we are talking about, the grossness of what it is to start uncovering your own bullshit, to
Yeah.
realize that yes, trauma is big, but so many times we hold on to it and we cover up with it at times, that because it almost becomes our blanket. Because
Mm.
if I let this, and this was what was personal for me, and I won't speak for anybody else, but my trauma was so personal for me that I could then hide underneath it. But until I started taking the steps that we're talking about, that you just spoke about, to really start looking at it, yes, I was traumatized by these people, but they're not holding it. I'm holding it. And
Mm-hmm.
as I'm holding it, I'm still giving my power to that. So it's no wonder that I feel powerless, that I don't feel like, I have any power over my own life. It's because I have spent these years searching for the answer that you can never, until you start to heal, you can never answer the question, why me?
Mm-hmm.
Because you can never see it. And it's amazing how cloudy bullshit is. Like, shit is not clear. It is very dense and very cloudy. And the thing that I love about gratitude is that little by little it started cleaning the lens of my perspective.
Absolutely.
And I didn't even know that it was happening. I was focused on doing this thing that someone I respected suggested that I do. And I was just focused because I thought, well, if this man can have what he has, his information, it resonates with me. I think that's very valid, that people need to take the
Yeah.
lessons and the information that resonates with them in some way. And I thought, if he's telling me to do this, and I do it, then there will have to be some type of possibility. But I never understood how much gratitude would change my perspective. And it wasn't all at once. You and I talked about this. It was just little by little. I started seeing more things in my world that were going right
Yeah.
than what was going wrong. And I began to see myself in that. And as I gained a greater perspective, I started gaining confidence in myself. I started realizing, oh, I can change. Number one. and I can do hard things, and I am grateful for things, and I do have so much surrounding me
Yes.
that, it is just, if I allow it, it can really nurture my life. Um, I'm going to put this, Kim Bellis, we talk about gratitude and just the way I feel about my son. And, that's Kim's story with Sober is the New Cool,
Yeah.
not really having that addiction issue, but having her son be in a place where he's young and develops, a seizure disorder and doesn't want to be that hypocrite. I resonate with her story so much. And isn't it amazing that we are people of gratitude and how much we connect on this? Because, like, there are people in the chat that are so excited, like they get it, they understand. And that's, man, I love this about. There's You can talk about cars and airplanes and all those things and money that we do on social media, but this is the stuff that people are really, really moving through, man.
Yeah.
Really moving through. I mean, oh gosh, keep filling us up, man. Keep going. Dimensions of gratitude. I wrote down. You said dimensions of gratitude
Mm.
when you were talking about that. Kind of expand on what you mean by dimensions of gratitude, and just expand on that and throw us some knowledge there.
All right. So just because the one comment of integrity came up, I'm a total nerd when it comes to like the root of words, just because
Mm,
words are so powerful. If you can place them properly, you can actually understand uh, the basis and that power of what it means. So when somebody has integrity, it's based on the word integer, which means whole.
mm,
So
mm.
many people are saying like, I'll be happy when, I'll be happy if,
Yes.
and all
Yes.
of those thoughts tear you apart from your wholeness. It's
Yeah.
like there's something missing from me being a fully well-rounded, holistically capable person, as if you've created this own self-inadequacy out of lack because the world has told you. And not to be all hoity-toity about the Western world, but the whole economy of it is based on telling us we are inadequate in some way. The
Yes.
beauty industry says, hey,
Yes.
you're only pretty if you need this makeup, and
Yeah.
God, get these shoes that have a 2-inch lift because only tall guys are sexy.
That's
And just
right.
crazy stuff that
Yeah.
literally attacks our genetics. This
Yep.
specifically things that we are not in control of. It's like, here's how you get ahead of the game, right? And so then you have to take that autonomy back of who you are and be like, I am whole at the end of every day, despite me being at the lowest of my low with um, the sobriety journey and stuff like that. Because, like, I want to be able to be welcomed into my loved one's life if they're saying they have a terrible day, and have that space, because I've been the person who has pushed everyone away thinking I'm the weak one, and has self-inflicted that lack of wholeness. So I'm like, oh, if you're in my orbit right now, you're just in the crossfire of my weakness and my
Yeah.
sin, right? But then
Yeah.
people are trying to come and be like, no, you are whole, and I'm in this place just to remind you of what you're capable of, because we are the masters of our story anyways. We can say other people were there for us, but all they do is remind you of what you were anyways. And so
Yeah.
just all that mental game the whole time. But on those different dimensions, um, taking those different layers of that wholeness and bringing it back to, as it makes it sound really silly and so almost too simple, but it's like, I'm not actually in control of my success. I'm in control of whether I'm going to be happy if I fail, or if I'm proud of
Yes.
myself just for showing up. Because
Yeah.
maybe I'll, like, if I'm going to the Olympics or something, and I, get so nervous that I step and sprain my ankle, that's not a defeat. It's like, no, I
Yeah.
still made it here. That I don't want to dishonor my entire journey because of one blip that I wasn't in control of.
Yeah.
And so I like to remind people that mess it up with a good attitude, because that's the only thing that you're in control of.
Yes.
So it
Yes.
sounds like the goal is extremely low, because if I at least show up and uh, I involved myself into something I genuinely care about and I messed it up, at least I showed up. But if I can do that with a good attitude, people will be like, wow, I can do scary things and laugh at myself. that's pretty cool. I don't have to belittle myself for the rest of my eternity for, at least trying to do the things that scared me, because that is the
Absolutely.
only step of moving forward, is doing the scary things. It's the sharpest
Yeah,
definition of who we are, right? It's
absolutely.
what stops us. And typically we're the only ones stopping us. And that's that. It's just,
Absolutely.
it's like, I don't want to
Absolutely.
do that.
You're right. And that becomes like, that becomes the program of thought, is that, everything else is stopping me. And you're right. Everything is advertised to us that we need this to be happy. And, I'm doing a live with Alyssa Caitlin tomorrow night. And it's funny that you even said that, because that's basically what that whole live we're going to do on Instagram is about doing that, that the when we get into the big law of attraction and manifestation, it is, still right now a lot of people are trading one addiction for the other, where they're using that as a coping mechanism, that I'll be happy when. And
Yeah.
you're always chasing the carrot, will always move forward, just out of reach, because that attracting, what you are attracting back is the lack and the want of it,
Yeah.
until you embody it. So Kim has an amazing question, and you were really getting into it right there. Kim says, what's the best advice to keep gratitude going? I'm going to let you answer, and then I'll give my answer, unless they might be the same. Let's see. But yeah, what's the best advice to keep gratitude going?
Oh my goodness, to keep it going. I just want to say it's pure human will for what, but having that north star, like you said, your sun, or just like something that keeps you above the water every single day. Because if it's about you, you will fail. It
Mhm.
has to be about something bigger than you.
Yes.
You have to have this grand design. You're like, well, how can I be of service? If I feel so small. But then it's
Mhm.
that the humility. It's like, if I feel this small, there's a very real chance that other people's feel this way, and if I can just make one step forward, then I can be a survival guide, to have that humility to share that, and somebody might come alongside me and walk with me, and it will be all worthwhile. If I can
So
pay the pain forward to some degree, and just celebrate the fact that my life isn't a blooper reel, and make light of that, and be like, yeah, dude, it kind of sucked, but look at us, like we're farther than we thought we were. Like,
yeah.
how crazy is that? And
Yeah.
so it's not about you, because people will see that resonance of that joy, of just that small overcoming at a time, and be like, that's all I need. That's all I
That's
need to
it.
see. Right.
Yeah, yeah, that's it. How powerful is purpose? And that goes back to that to the thing that I say all the time in my life. How many days did finding, like resonating with this purpose that was bigger than me, pull me through when I didn't want to go, when I didn't want to get up and do this thing again, when I didn't want to keep trying.
Yeah.
That power of purpose kept me
Love.
going. I
Yeah.
mean, it did. And I think as well too, just to piggyback off of that, because that's amazing advice. It has to be bigger than you, is to really begin some type of daily practice. Whether I like to, because you're right, we are only in charge of our own attitude. And to throw out the cliche quote, your attitude determines your altitude, it's really,
Yeah.
really true. And that is the only thing that we are in control of, because inevitably somebody is going to cut you off in traffic. Inevitably,
Yeah.
someone is going to be in your reality that is not going to be vibing at the same level. And you're not in control of that, nor circumstances or hurricanes or anything that can happen. But what you do have control of is your own attitude about it.
Mm-hmm.
And if gratitude helps you create a winning attitude, I think that it truly is the start of a winning attitude. That to have some type of daily practice that you start to set in place for yourself, and realize that when you start a practice like that, your nervous system is going to try to fight back with you,
Mm-hmm.
because not because it's trying to hurt you, but because it's saying, wait a minute, you're changing this up, this isn't our routine, this is not. And if we can sit with that, that's why I think, even you know I don't tell people necessarily to make a gratitude list every morning, my advice is to connect with one thing that your head and your heart can truly connect with on a daily basis, no matter how ridiculous it may seem to others or yourself. I
Mm-hmm.
have a little dog that greets me every morning, no matter what. So I can have the shittiest morning, but my dog don't care about that. She still just wants to come and love me. And sometimes I will just sit there with her until I am truly, truly just grateful
Yeah.
to be her parent. You know what I mean? Just grateful. And to the point that I will start to laugh that
Mhm.
I am sitting there talking to this cute little dog, and I'm so grateful, to be her dad, to the point that I'm laughing. And at that moment, gratitude has taken hold. And
Yeah.
that practice will eventually, your nervous system will then, connect to this new practice, and it will become that thing that looks like a habit. But just connect head and heart with something. Don't just say something off the top of your tongue. Connect with that, and it can be
Yeah.
just one thing, and you can stay in it for 5 minutes, and your day will just change, very much change. um, I love Kim Bellis. I love her. Is there anything that you want to add to that before we hit another comment, or do you want to add anything to
Oh,
practice? Yeah.
I thought you were
Oh, no.
first in the
Yeah.
comments. Um, I kind of want to add that now I've been probably about 3.5 years straight of not missing a gratitude journal day. Um, and I've actually written 4,253 things, but
Wow.
I keep it
Amazing.
3 to 5 months backwards.
Uh-huh.
So that was me just writing about February. We're in
That's
July now, so I'm like way behind, but that's purposeful. And so I get this like double dipping of reflection on my life almost constantly, because there's this place that we can sit in of being like, this is the only thing that matters right now. When we feel happy, it feels like forever. When we're sad, it feels like
yes.
forever. When we're pissed
Yes.
off, it feels like forever in that moment. You're like, I
Yeah.
will never come out of this. Like, I just want to get out of there. And that yearning to be somewhere else makes it feel even deeper of that emotion, right? But to have that arsenal of like, here's the good things that happened, here's the 20 minutes I shared on a phone call with my mom, here's this time I laughed until I cried. But then double dipping in looking back 3 to 5 months all the time, saying like, look how much has changed, look how I was complaining about this and that was such a blip in the
That's
grand scheme of
that's
things.
true.
And how I said I thank myself, I don't know what the ending of this trouble is right now, but I'm giving myself the grace to not know as well. And
Mm.
so I know that the clarity will come, but I'm not demanding it of myself in this moment, because no problem is solved necessarily in a day. But then you get to look back at that, and man, it took a month and a half for him to be like, man, like that was the biggest blessing that this thing fell apart, because look who else showed up,
Yes.
right? And so
Yes.
not to make that as if we know the trajectory of the universe, because sometimes God takes things out of our way because he heard those conversations and stuff that we didn't, right?
Yes.
And so to
Yes.
make space, and we just got to dance in that hallway of unknowing, even while the
Yes.
past is knocking at us, to come back, be like, anything's better than the back right there. And I will absolutely celebrate the fact that, moving forward is what I'm built for.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I love that. I was just talking to my therapist yesterday, I guess it was, and I spoke to her and got her advice about doing kind of an activity like that, where I really wanted to take one of my favorite words you used is the word grace. And I had spoken to her and I said, I don't think that I celebrate my wins often enough. And so I'd really like to sit down and go back over, especially this past year, and just really sit and take notice of how far I've come,
Mm-hmm.
and all the things that have taken place. And just like what you're saying, all the places, all the times, the moments that I thought were never going to end, that this is always going to be this way. Because you're right, depression tells you that this is always going to be like this. And the most freeing moment is realizing that no, it's not. It changes in a moment, just like with happiness.
Yeah.
And so it's great confirmation that you just shared that. So I know that I'm right on my path and what I'm going to do and working on that. Pamela says awareness. Stop and take notice each day of how far we've come and what is going well in our lives. And I think that is so, so, so important. Pamela does a lot of work with animals and also says all animals are healers. And I
Ooh,
truly
yeah.
believe that. I believe that. Really do.
uh, like I guess my family came from working with horses, of course. They're a very docile animal, and everybody who works with horses sees them as like a straight up mirror of energy. And that was
Yes.
such an amazing space to actually learn to get over like the anger that I used to have, whether like a different brother had like a passive aggressive or a forward aggressive anger, whatever bullshit we bring to the table, a horse will direct that right back to
Mhm.
us. Dogs and
Yes.
cats not so much.
Yeah.
But you
Right.
know, that way it's like that energy becomes almost like a harmony. And if you're
Oh,
stressed out like that, it just becomes jittery. It's incredible.
it
Like that
is.
communication that happens without words between
Absolutely.
completely different entities in the universe that they will tell you exactly where you're at and be like, well, if this is stressful, it's actually what I brought to the table. And they're just
Absolutely. Absolutely, you're so right. And a horse, in all honesty, saved my life. I had been given 6 months to live in 2008 and 9.
wow.
And in 2000, my muscles had atrophied. I mean, my wife was carrying me to and from the bathroom and bathing me, and it was just this. I was walking with a walker. And in 2009, I moved up here around my family. I didn't have any family where I was, and I wanted to die by my family. And my mom had this amazing, beautiful horse named Colt down
Mm,
in the pasture, and I got determined to fight to get my family back in my life because my wife and I had to be separated
yeah.
because at the time we were seen as a lesbian couple and that didn't go down in this Bible South. And so
Yeah.
we had to separate. And I got so determined to fight for my family back that I started coming from the house and walking every day down to the horse pasture. And I would just spend hours out there just brushing him and just being close to him. And within a year, I had completely gotten my health back. I had begun to work a full time job. I had bought my first car. And then the first 6 months of the following year, I had brought my wife back up here. 6 months later to the day, we went back, got our son, and we began our family.
Wow.
And, that was a horse that changed my entire life. It was healing, healing. So you're right. Psychic
Something
animals.
something bigger than ourselves, right?
Yes,
Could be that
always.
simple. You know, I'm here. Like my existence right now can mean a betterment to that animal's well-being. It can be so
Absolutely.
small. You know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is such an amazing conversation, man. I am so, so grateful that you're here and grateful that you have been one to discover this purpose larger than yourself, because I remember being in that space where I was just not aware, where I truly felt like and always just knew myself to be what I called God's little joke.
Okay.
And what we expect is what we get, and through
Mhm.
our eyes of perception is basically the reality that we live.
For
you
sure.
know the importance of gratitude and the grit that it takes to remain in that, to create a gratitude practice and to remain in that regardless of what our outside circumstances are trying to convey. When you have that grit of gratitude, it's a whole different way to look at things. I just can't say enough about the transformational power of gratitude, and I thank you for coming to a place of awareness, being such a young guy and starting to experience things that are basically trials, that you started experiencing trials like I did at 4 years old, not
Yeah.
the same, but we, start experiencing that young. And there was the the possibility that you could have gone a completely different way with all of that and asked the question that can never be answered until the day that you discover your purpose of why me, why all of this, and you could have become something different. And I'm grateful that you have the grit to walk through this life, grateful, and to give back and to realize that bigger purpose. Now, Remy, I want you to, number one, tell people how they can find you and connect with you, where they can get the book. And I do want to remind people that there is a direct link to An Arsenal of Gratitude, Remy's amazing book, right there in the description on YouTube and Facebook, where you're watching. That's a direct link. It'll go straight to his book. But talk to us and tell us where people can find you and
All
get
right.
with you.
Do I have 1 more minute to like send
Oh,
home what
you've got
I'm?
all the time you
Okay.
want, man. All the time.
This is something I know for fact I've never shared before, so it's kind of interesting that it's coming up in
Oh,
this moment.
please. Love these, man.
But like, if you close your eyes and you imagine biting into the most ripest lemon you can imagine, even just doing that itself, like you salivate probably a little bit, like your
Yeah.
jaw probably tensed up a little bit.
Yep.
In that practice of gratitude, we keep saying grit, like you got to be strong, tough.
Mm,
And when you say strong, tough, you think almost flexing muscles, right?
true,
But
true.
that strength of gratitude comes with like the love, the compassion, the
Yes.
grace. And when you say those words, you kind of have to listen to what your body does. And you
Yes.
really try to just like listen to that, like grace, flow. I feel my arms almost opening up. You
Yes.
take up more space. But as you have
Yes.
like that fear, that anger, that resentment, you almost tighten up and come smaller and
Absolutely.
smaller. And so if you can
Yes.
just dabble in those words, you can feel your whole physiology opening up. And they say like the surrender is the strongest position you can be. And I was so
Better believe it.
not, yeah, I was so not cool with that saying. But then it's like that absolute receptivity to everything good that can be. I'm not in control. I've done everything I can, but I do believe in something divinely ordered that I can still overcome this, and I'm still here. So that's proof of it enough, right?
Mm,
Just that ability to sit in that thing and feel opened up and
yes.
focus on those words that just take up space. So I
Mm.
just want to end on that note.
No, I'm so glad you did because it is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. It's so true. You're right, man. Our words hold so much power. And my favorite word is grace. Like right now, because of the way it makes me feel on the inside. And you're right. The strength that it takes to be in a place of surrender. The, you know, the the masculinity that it takes to be comfortable
Mm-hmm.
in a space of surrender and grace, man, like it is authentic. It feels so authentic to me to be who I am today and to sit in a place of having grace for myself and being in grace and being in surrender and just really being grateful for myself and my journey and for all the parts that still live within me, for all for the child that still lives in me and the teenager that still lives in me. The more we close up and back off from that, you're right, it feels very constricting, it feels very tight, and we often don't even realize how many times throughout the day that we are tensed up in our own bodies. And when we change our physiology, we change our psychology, and it's just proven. It happens. I mean, I've even started with this practice because, and I shared this little clip on Instagram a couple days ago. But when you find yourself with your tongue to the top of the roof of your mouth, generally you're having some type of dialogue happen in your head, and you think it's this internal dialogue and conversation that you're having. And I've been trying to really become aware of how many times throughout the day my tongue is completely stuck to the roof of my mouth, and make it a point to relax it and drop it back down. And the moment I do that, Ram, the moment I do that, man, my whole physiology changes. It
Unbelievable.
just changes. And so play with yourself, not in a bad way. Just do
Yeah.
experiments, like do experiments with yourself, start doing little mindful things with yourself to bring yourself into a space of peace and harmony and alignment. And just like happiness and sadness, don't expect to stay there already. It's not a place we get to, it's now the destination we arrive at, and now we're here. That is the part of that external I'll be happy when,
Yeah.
energy. But to know that you have amazing power over one thing, and that's your attitude, how you greet things with. I think we've had a lot of takeaways from today. I'm going to have great fun, making clips of this show.
Mhm.
We've had a lot of takeaways of today, and I hope that people that are watching this now will watch this over, because there'll be so many things to come back to, because there's so many practices within this one interview that we're doing right now in this conversation, because there's just so much that we've talked about here. And I hope that people will really take this in, and you're going to continue, man, to just to being authentic will always pay off in major ways throughout your life, and the career path that you're on, and all the ways that you volunteer yourself. So, I hope that you'll say, I'll say, I knew Remy when he was, a young author, starting out with these amazing ideas, and he's, now talking to millions of people, and helping them change their life, and being with children who need to know that their uniqueness is truly their
Mhm.
superpower. And that's amazing, and I appreciate you. I really appreciate you. These shows go too fast, man.
They
This
do.
season need to be like 2 3 hour episodes.
Oh,
We could do it. But tell us now where we can for real find you, because I want to make sure that people know that. I know that you've got the website. This is what I've got. Let me know if there's anything else right here that we should.
yeah. No, that's pretty much it. RemyStorak.com or Instagram at Remy Storak. That's the most personal space, and I love actually receiving messages. I love getting to people, love getting to know people on that personal note. There's always like, oh, there's people, they're busy and stuff like that, but it's that little moment, man. Me and LC connected
That's
over
right.
3 or 4 messages, and we're like,
Yep.
I have this
That's
conversation
it.
hour long later. It's like, I know I'm
Yep.
supposed to be moving forward in life with this person,
Yep.
and you don't get to know that unless you take that strange chance
That's
to
so
say
true.
hello to people. So I don't know if anything really resonated. I'd love to amplify anything that I have to offer. And I know LC on that same regard. And I would
Absolutely.
really love to just move forward next week, next month, many years from now, and just collab back and, see how
Oh
far
yeah.
we've come, and just, continue to
Oh
celebrate
my
this all along the
gosh.
way. Because
Absolutely.
yeah. And to send it home, I want to say my favorite quote, because as you're talking about like your tongue coming off the roof of your mouth, how it's like, here's how my body's almost creating this mental thing. If you want to understand how your body feels and how like your entire spectrum of mentality changes when you have that grit of gratitude, it comes around my favorite quote that says, nobody will understand how much violence it took to become this gentle.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Oh yeah. Man, that takes me on a complete trip back in my mind over my
Doesn't
life.
it?
It says absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yes. That's an amazing, amazing clip. Let me
Because you
write
can
down
just
that minute.
that one sentence just to say like, here's all that turmoil, be like that rebellious sensation, be like, I'm in control of, taking
Yeah.
space, moving slowly, being the grace in the room that the world is desperately in need of right now. That's a pretty, that's gangster as far as I'm
Yes, it
concerned.
is. Yes, it is. Without a doubt. Without a doubt, man. It has been a true pleasure being here with you. And like I said, everybody who's been on the show this season, like we're friends. Like that's like we're family at this point, and
Yeah.
that's how I feel about every single person I connected with. I asked for this, I sent it out there. I trusted that it has come back, and I tell you, I am absolutely have not been disappointed. I have had some of the most amazing, truly amazing connections of this entire entire year. Kim Bella says she's just followed.
Get
Oh,
back.
Pamela's gotten wow. I mean, this has just been an absolute pleasure. And to all that have joined us and will watch this later, this is absolutely one of these episodes you don't want to miss and you want to watch a few times. Remy, I thank you so much, man, for being here with me. This has just been a pleasure for me. I look forward to us collaborating more. Keep sending that amazing content that you put up on Instagram. Keep doing that deep dive stuff, man. I mean, you really, that's how I contacted you, is because I saw one of your videos and it just really made me think on a different level. I vibed with it. I said, this I think has got to be one of my guys, and I just kept following and seeing more and more. And yep, it was
Yeah.
an absolute yes for me. It was a
Yeah.
hell yes for me from the beginning. So thank you so much,
Yeah.
so much. Everybody, remember when I told you if you hung around to the end of our video that I would tell you how to get this amazing gift from Breakthrough Hypnotherapy? Well, since you did, I am going to hold true to my word. If you go to www.hypnobreakthrough.com and you mention Recovery Soul Food, you're going to get a free full session of hypnotherapy. Now, listen, that is in conjunction with you get the consultation and the consultation session, and then you get an amazing free full session with Pamela Topjian, who's one of the most amazing purposed hypnotherapists I believe on this planet. And listen, you know you can't really go wrong. Like, you can't not, just get anything from this, and you can't go wrong by taking advantage of this gift. But also, don't let the limitations of your of that external mind hold you back. Pamela has amazing resources. So even if you think, oh, I can't afford anything like that, Pamela has resources that can help you get exactly what you need where you need it. So take Pamela up on this amazing gift. Hypnobreakthrough.com. Make sure you tell her that LC and Remy sent you, man. Tell him you saw
Okay.
us here on Recovery Soul Food and you want to take her up on that gift. It's amazing. It's amazing. Man, I adore you. You are one of my new
Well,
friends and my brothers, and I'm so grateful to be in this world with you. It's amazing, amazing,
uh,
amazing. So I
say
look,
one thing. This
yeah,
friendship was born out of me making videos that I'm terrified of making, and one random person, thanks to Reels, said something that resonates with me. 2 weeks later, here we are. So if
that's
you do
right.
this, do the scary thing. Your new friends are literally praying for you, because I was praying
Oh,
for friends
man.
like LC, and here we are. Life
Oh,
happens. That
yeah. It certainly does. It certainly does. You put it out there and you are sincere about it, it will come to you. It will come through you. Just don't try to box it in.
yep.
That's been my thing in the past. I try to box it in and put the bow on it, and this is how it should show up, and you miss so much, man.
Yeah.
Put it out there, open yourself up, and allow it to, be come to you. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I love you, man, and
Love
I
you too.
thank you for all
Here's
you
to many
do.
more connections. Love you, buddy.
Let's do it. All right, man. Have a great night. Everybody, join us next week. We got so much coming this season. It's amazing. Remy, I love you. I love you guys. And thanks so much for all your support. Y'all have an amazing, amazing night and amazing next week. Bye, everybody.
See ya.